r/AskReddit, what's the scariest video game you played? Any game where you can't defend yourself and can only hide. Amnesia: The Dark Descent was anxiety-inducing for me. Alien: Isolation captured really well the feeling of being hunted by a terrifying predator. Soma is another, more existential, type of horror that really creeps up on you. P.T. did an amazing job of making the same hallway unnerving over and over again. Shame we won't see more of it. The scariest video game I ever played was probably the original Silent Hill from 1999. The eerie atmosphere, the creepy sound design, and the terrifying monsters all combined to create an unforgettable horror experience. Silent Hill 2. Subnautica: I've played horror games before, but Subnautica scared me the most. Fatal Frame. Fear. Lights Off really set the mood. Silent Hill, Outlast, Alien Isolation. Dead Space. Do I need to say more? I had to stop playing for a while after the baby in Resident Evil 8. Silent Hill 2 was straight up nightmare fuel, literally. Playing it alone and no lights wasn't a fun ride. Silent Hill 3 gave me the most anxiety though. Only played it twice just so I could get the puppy ending. After that, I said nope and traded it in for another game. The music from Friday the 13th for NES still gives me the creeps. Mortuary Assistant. Yikes, that shit has me shivering. Subnautica. A lot of games scare me, Subnautica gives me existential dread. Amnesia: The Bunker. Tried playing Phasmophobia by myself in the dark a few times, definitely not my best idea lol. I think I was 11 when I first played Half-Life and I couldn't make it past Unforeseen Consequences because just the concept of a head crab was pure nightmare fuel for me. Took me a couple more years for that to become one of my favorite games. The original Resident Evil, Director's Cut on the PlayStation. I'm gonna say Forbidden Siren. I was going to say Silent Hill like a lot of others, but this game really got to me. For those that haven't played it, basically there are a ton of chapters and alternate characters. Sometimes you're an 8-year-old girl and all you can do is run and hide while being chased by undead, called Shivito. Some chapters you get a gun, but it doesn't actually kill enemies permanently, you can only knock them out for a few minutes and then they will come searching for you. All this in a dark environment with puzzles, and of course using your torch is a double-edged sword. Do you take a look and take the chance one of them isn't looking in your direction, or just wing it in the dark? Luckily you have a special gift that allows you to sight jack and see through enemies' eyes so you can try and figure out where they are, which is great because one character is blind, so in that chapter one mistake and you're basically dead because you can't see where you're going without using your power. There is a lot of creepy backstory and lore, like on guy who survives captures some Shivito and tries to find a way to kill them by cutting them into tiny pieces, but they are still animated. It's only at the final stage and once you have unlocked every secret in the game that you can discover there is actually a way to kill them, but even then it's not that easy. I only played 1 and 2 and never played the remake/reboot. Easiest answer is Clock Tower, for the PlayStation, but the SNES one is pretty good too. You can't kill the stalker, the scissor man. You can only run and hide and delay him. He's set to a random spawn based upon unknown math. It's the first game to have you be completely helpless against whatever is coming for you. Just odd puzzles and weird dead ends. I'm still terrified of this game. Alien: Isolation. As a kid. Actually afraid? Dead Space. Otherwise I had a worse experience playing Resistance 3 that really creeped me out. Wasn't scared. Just made me feel sick/gross. Played it at a bad time in my childhood. The atmosphere made me depressed AF while playing it. Never want to play it again. Manhunt. Something a lot scarier being chased and killed by mentally deranged people than the usual zombies or vampires or other kind of monsters. Clock Tower on PS1. Honestly, it still gives me the chills when I play it. Any video game I can't actively defend myself. But the one that had my chest beating like a drum and my fear/anxiety responses going through the roof had to be Subnautica. I already have an insanely irrational fear of open water, but now you've dropped me smack dab on a planet that's 95% water, teeming with hostile life, and my only means of defending myself is a fucking knife. Then you have leviathans that will wreck your shit faster than a pissed off prime Mike Tyson on cocaine. Teleporting robot killer Cyborg squid men. Fucking giant ghost serpents. Who is the sadist that made this fucking game? BioShock. Doom. Left 4 Dead: Cause of the Witch. Outlast 2, and Resident Evil 7. Fear 2 and Resident Evil 1, the zombie head turning cutscene in the beginning scared the crap out of me. In the old VTM Bloodlines game, the game itself is fine and fun and not actually scary so much despite being about vampires. There is a quest in the game though, which you have to do, where you enter a haunted house. Are ghosts supposed to be scary to vampires? Apparently the answer is yes. This part was super scary, even though it did the usual poltergeist things you'd expect. Second time I played the game, I downloaded a tool that let you auto-complete that quest, because I found it too scary to go through again, frankly. Fatal Frame 2. Fear. The way it went from casual shooter of the clone army to sudden super demonic shit always made the scary parts pop a little more. Even the PvP was top tier in that game. I remember people hosting their own maps and having an absolute blast. The game has aged like warm milk, unfortunately. But it continues to be one of my all-time favorites. Amnesia really messed me up. It was so hard to continue on when you can't see. Funny game to mention is Ark SA. When it first came out, diving into the open ocean not knowing what was going to attack we unbearable. I hate open murky water. When I was a kid in the 90s and played Myst, terrifying. Not many jump scares, but the isolation and plot was scary. Clive Barker's Undying. I'm a pussy. Resident Evil 7 is very intense, played on VR and almost got PTSD. DDLC. The only game I ever remember really scaring me was the Friday the 13th game for NES. Never knowing when Jason might pop out. Silent Hill. I've played a lot of horror games over the decades, and Alien, Isolation stands apart as a horror/suspense masterpiece. Alien, Isolation scares the hell out of me. Also, an indie/fan-made game called Phobia 1. 5. Phasmophobia. I remember noping out during the tutorial. Solo investigations remain to be terrifying, although the effect wears off over time. There was an old PC game called Alone in the Dark, very scary for a 9-year-old me. Visage. I'm gonna throw Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem into the mix here. It was a fairly creepy game on GameCube, and it would just randomly mess with you as you progressed through the game. PT. TurboTax. Horrific experience. The original Dead Space. Playing it now, I'm basically the Doom guy because I just wait for necros to come to me and shoot them apart, but back then as a young-un? Whew. There was a DS game that freaked me out called Dementium, The Ward. Don't think I finished it because I was legit scared by it. Now that I'm older, I'm sure it wasn't as scary as I thought back then, lol. Quicken Willmaker and Trust 2020. Minecraft as a child. Silent Hill, The Room. Lego Indiana Jones. I had the DS version and a weird glitch happened where all the textures of the minifigures got screwed up and the colors were all wrong. This was conveniently around the age I first was exposed to creepypasta stories, half of which are Pokemon game turns evil and Pikachu killed my dog. Yeah, 9-year-old me was genuinely terrified for a good while. QAnon. Hellblade, while it isn't a horror game, it can put you on edge. The Evil Within. Super Mario Bros. Actually imagine a large, fire-breathing turtle that likes to kidnap young women. That's bloody well scary. Super Mario Bros. 3 for the SNES. The music and Koopa boss sprites gave me nightmares as a child. Amnesia and Fatal Frame. Cry of Fear. Spooky as hell atmosphere with really terrifying scares and the story is super depressing. Easily Silent Hill 2. Phasmophobia. The Og point and click PC game Phantasmagoria. I was obsessed. My Eyes Deshiv, a now banned Roblox game. It is not scary in itself, but its backstory is truly disturbing. Resident Evil Director's Cut. Resident Evil 7 was the scariest one I ever beat. I had to stop playing Visage because it was freaking me out too much though. Clandestiny on PC, late 90s I think. Eerie soundtrack. Dead Space was a good action horror game. Creepy, kinda unsettling. Into the Radius. It's basically Stalker but in VR. Creepy as hell dropping your flashlight at night and having eldritch spider things leap at your face in VR. 1998 Half-Life. Bloodborne. When I was a kid I played Crysis 2. The game isn't exactly scary, but the atmosphere had a big impact on me and made me afraid to progress. F. E. A. R. Alien, Isolation. Even if you know how to play, the atmosphere is still very intense. The first Fear game was really good. Alien Isolation. I spent most of my time hiding in closets or crouching. The butthole clenching anxiety of xenomorph lurking is too much to bear. Disco Elysium. It made me look at all the rottenness and selfishness in me and what a piece of shit I've been. Slenderman. Alan Wake scared the shit out of me. Amnesia, The Dark Descent, only late at night, with headphones on. What a vibe. Phantasmagoria on PC back in the day. I played while my friends watched. Scared the absolute shit out of us. Don't Scream. The Penumbra series really freaked me out. Dying Light. They have these night hunter zombies that will rip you apart, you can hear them coming. For me it's Phasmophobia. Maybe I'm aging myself here, but nobody has mentioned The Suffering on PS2. You play an escaped inmate in an experimental prison. Much like Outlast, except it's not just the other inmates going crazy, it's you too. And it's third person. It's PS2 psychological horror at its finest. Me and my pops used to play it together and record the gameplay on VHS to watch later. Amnesia, The Dark Descent. That sh*t was in my living room for like a week before I decided to finally give it away. I have a chicken heart when it comes to jump scares, I just hate them. Amnesia Dark Descent. I Alt F4 that game when I play so fast I don't think I'll ever beat it. Life. Darkfall. For a point-and-click adventure game, it has some of the most well-timed oh fuck moments. One that really got me: while you're exploring an abandoned hotel, you end up in a room reading a letter about hauntings going on, but it specifically mentions phantom knocking on the doors about halfway into the letter, so you've had enough time to get invested in reading thinking it's safe because nothing has happened so far, but the audio cue basically is on a timer that works out to right when I read those words I heard knocking on the only door in that I'd just gone down an empty hallway to get into. Messed with me the rest of the game, thinking there were no save pause time object interactions. Also, a part later where the power goes out and my brother's cat meowed from behind me as the last lights went out. But I don't think everyone's got the IRL terror patch. Amnesia: The Dark Descent, Dead Space, Outlast. When I was little, Luigi's Mansion. What about BioShock? Heavy Rain. So dark and depressing. I couldn't go on because it gave me anxiety to play. Amnesia: The Dark Descent. I played it with the lights off and headphones on. No form of media has ever scared me like that game did. Amnesia: Dark Descent. Outlast. Had to stop playing it. Don't want to know what happens in it, ever. Hey, if I can't shoot those things at some point, then that's not a game for me. That's just jump scare bait. The original Resident Evil and Five Nights at Freddy's. That damn bear scared the hell out of me. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed this video and subscribe to never miss an upload.